starting, let me again introduce to you our distinguished speakers. Anyway, you already know them, but maybe with what I will say, you will know them much more. They are all very renowned professionals, starting from Dr. Mazen AbouChakra, who is Managing Director MENA and East Mediterranean at January, which is, as you know, a giant in reinsurance. He has been serving the region for over 2 decades, but he's very young still, as you see. And he is holding an executive doctorate in business administration in customer behavior from the École Normale Supérieure des Affaires in Beirut. He is fellow of the Cyprus Actuarial Association and a member of the International Actuarial Association. He holds a BBA in finance, actuarial science, and prior to moving to the reinsurance, he has held numerous positions in banking. Thanks, Mazen, in joining. By this, let us talk about more protection gap, and I believe the protection gap, there was also a protection gap centuries ago in Mesopotamia. And so Mazen will touch on that subject and together with the medical insurance challenges. Thank you. Mazen?
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you for the audience. As Mark was saying, there is a protection gap. I picked up the medical coverage. The coverage gap, which is, like, you know, in the Arab world, 50% of the insurance premium is coming mostly from medical. Do it from, and for everybody, my presentation is regarding how to go from healing to lifestyle, and how everybody wants to live longer, healthier. And I call it that to age brilliantly. I put my presentation on, please. Dying to age brilliantly. We'll have a glance at the medical protection, and as Mark said, this big gap is coming from all the ages. I'll try to walk you through the origins of medical insurance and speak about the health expenditure briefly. We don't have much time to dwell into all the details, but I'll try to work on the medical value chain evolution into phases to put you in perspective how we advance and how products did around reshaping the distribution industry of the product. To start with, I would like to introduce you something called, not many people are familiar with that terminology. To be able to have a benchmark on the medical, Public Health, the Ministry of Health, came up with DALI. DALI, it stands for Disability Adjusted Life Years. What does that mean? We live in our life, when we're born, we have life expectancy, right? Let's say everybody is born, depending on socioeconomic background, on whether low income or high income countries, there is a big gap between low income and high income, but we are expected to live a certain amount of years. Now, throughout our life, depending on environment, lifestyle, and on the genetic, we lose some of the life years. And also, what's very intriguing, 50% of our life, we are not living in good health, living in bad health. 12% bad, very bad, and the rest is 50% is not good. So we live only 50% of good health, and we lose a lot of life because of our lifestyle. Now, statistics shows that medical care contributes only 20% of the improvement of DALIs. What the other 80% is lifestyle and environment. So just remember the lifestyle component. Lifestyle contributes 80% of our life expectancy improvement, which 50% of it is not good health. And other statistics shows that 50% of all, in the last 50 years actually, in the last 50 years, there has not been no improvement in DALIs, okay? It has improved. Basically, there's a lot of fruit to come. Now, before I start preparing mobile phones, if you would like, I would like to scan this QR code, if you can, and answer the question, in what year or century you estimate health insurance protection started? When did we start with health insurance? It can be before Jesus Christ, 80, you have to put a number. So once you scan the QR code, put a number of fees, like it should be 4 digits. For AD or BCE. I'll give you a few minutes to start. I think everybody to participating. Some people are typing. Okay, some people are saying 2,000 years before Christ, 1800 after added dominion. Okay, thank you, 7 participating. Okay, I will leave it like a couple of minutes and see what the audience says. And I'll give you my contribution to that. Okay, a few more seconds. Some people say 1975, the first insurance or like protection. Thank you very much. I think we have a good idea. So one person said 2000 before Christ. All right, so I'm going to move on and give you, let's say, a historical, time frame. Actually, in ancient China, 3,000 millennia before Christ, there was something called guild, and the guild provides a basic form of health insurance, and it covered illness and accidents. So imagine 3,000 before Christ, there was a gap, and then people thought about filling this gap. When we came to ancient Babylon, and that's what Mark was saying, during Hammurabi Code, Hammurabi went into medical practice and how the society should be around public health, and how should we create, a kind of intervention to help people bridge their health gap. So there was some kind of, protection, and I'll see this form. In the Arabic world, something called al-aqila, which I was not aware of in my research. Al-aqila is basically a group of people who are prominent within a tribe or within a society, who takes care of people who have financial strain due to their health or due to anything else. The diya came from al-aqila. And the accident, and Diya is part of it. So Al-Aqila is sharing financial responsibility within the community. So also, after the Prophet Muhammad, there was some kind of social solidarity. Moving on, so basically, say 3,000 before BCE, that the insurance started protection, or like some kind of insurance. And going into time, 1983 in Germany, and going to France started doing social insurance and social welfare. Until the United Kingdom, the first policy was in the 20th century. So this is basically the historical gap. Now how it was, so this is basically, remember, phase 1.1. If you look at this ecosystem, if you would like, at the beginning, 3,000 years ago, there was solidarity, it was victory, right? In the sense that we intervene. When people get sick, there is a gap, and some people put money to help. There was insurance, of course. So the claim management was about healing. That's why I call my presentation from healing to lifestyle. And lifestyle is very important, as we saw. So the first thing is unit dimension, one dimension, only one dimension. And going forward, we're going to see like 2 more stops. Healthcare is going to spend a lot of time. You see, like usually in the Western world, the healthcare expenditure goes between 11 to the US, around sometimes 16% of the GDP, which is quite. You can see Egypt is up. The percent of GDP is about 1.74 and 2.70 from private. So the private in Egypt are paying more out of pocket. On average, 40% of worldwide of expenditure come from out of pocket. So there is a huge gap in protecting people and having unified health coverage. We're going to see how we are progressing as we speak. Going forward, the health insurance ecosystem, it consists of, a huge growth. We're growing in the next 10 years by almost 10%. There are 4.5 billion people who are not covered properly around the world. And 1.3 billion, they went down one notch, because of healthcare burden that could not sustain. So basically, there are high healthcare costs. As I said, 40% total spending is coming from out of pocket. Therefore, there must be some collaboration and some within the private sector, PPP, private-public partnership, in order to fill this gap. However, this gap has not been filled. In this phase 2, what we are living in, like maybe 5 years ago, the ecosystem consists of protection. So basically, we moved from Mesopotamian time, healing or intervention, to protection. And this is basically what we start to see in Europe, supplementary and complementary benefit over and above the social security. In the Arab world, we do it from ground up. So we have an ecosystem going from pricing, underwriting, do a lot of underwriting. It was at the beginning manual, and now with AI and technology is becoming more like automated. From the issues of modernization. So we spent almost 110 years in this, because we are traditional people in the insurance industry, in this ecosystem. Moving forward, we are talking now in every conference about financial sustainability and inclusion. So basically, there must be some motive for financial intervention from the government and the private sector in order to have filling the gap. How to do that? We should have in the rural areas a lot of people with resources to be able to help the people and increase the investment in the public health care, so basically we don't have the gap, and make it affordable. How we make it affordable? Through the last one in green with the technology. All over the world we're doing electronic health record, which can give you all the biometric of the people, and therefore through telemedicine, through mobile apps, and through very important health information system, it supports the supply chain in a way to be able to, the technology help us bridge this gap that I was talking about. So basically, quoting the CEO of Google, said artificial intelligence is the future, and we spoke in the previous session on AI, and the future is now here. So basically, where we are now, the AI has helped us in have early detection of the diseases through different algorithms, through different predictive modeling. And therefore, we can have improving the accuracy with becoming very granular towards the biometric risk. And therefore, we can have a diagnostic aspect. So before the people get sick and really become extremely problematic, we can have a predictive modeling to see. We call now this one health mirror. In NEOM in Saudi Arabia, when somebody goes to NEOM in the future, they will have something, they call it a Gemini, another like virtual person. They will go year -2 of what he is doing now and predict his health going forward. So all this mirroring is happening as we speak, it's becoming reality. Therefore, we have something called personalized treatment, client-centric. Everyone he will have his own assessment of his lifestyle. And as I say, lifestyle environment other than 80% to make the DALI, the disability adjusted life years better, so we can live longer in a healthier life, which didn't happen in the last 50 years as a matter of fact. So if you look at the phase 3.0, where we are now, which was accelerated by COVID, we are talking about chatbot, waste, fraud, and abuse. We're talking about the real time through the apps and through the mobile. We are getting into more of the behavior of the people. So the behavior is becoming very important across the board. And therefore, the automation is becoming possible, and the AI has played a major role. So now, as you can see, we move from intervention to protection to prevention. So now we're talking about wellness and prevention. So before something happens, we can prevent it. And therefore, this will lower the cost of medication and becomes more inclusive as we move on. Lastly, if you think about medical in a nutshell, it's based on those two graphs. It's basically treatment and disease conditions. So if we manage those two, that's what we have to do. From early ages until today, it's simple. There's a treatment and there is disease. And how we do now with the technology, the future is containing this ecosystem. We have big data, we can do predictive analytics, and very important, the behavior and lifestyle should be monitored. Therefore, the history, going from, that's why I want to go from the origin, the history, we moved from, as I said, healing, intervention, one-dimensional, to a bigger ecosystem, and now with the integrated model of client centricity, we are becoming more and more able to predict and have a better wellness. And this moves us to a phase, I call it 3.AI, which is going back to what I said earlier, back to the intervention, back to the Mesopotamian time. Why? Because the GAFA, which is the Googles, the Apple, they're also getting involved in our ecosystem as insurance and protection. And therefore, we have something which we developed as a robot. So basically, the robotic, Dr. Robotic, who will be able to find out what happened to us and be able to intervene at the point of time, at a specific point of time. So we went from healing to protection to prevention, and now back to intervention, but now the intervention is virtual. It's no longer al-aqila or something in solidarity. It's becoming more of a GAFA point of view. And therefore, as insurance, to bridge the gap, we have to work a lot on the DALIs, on improving our intervention into creating a better lifestyle, so we have better life expectancy with good health, and therefore using technology to lower the bill. And one last thing before I stop, we don't use emotion, because these people will compete with us, so we have to be again part of the ecosystem. So one of the things we don't use in the insurance, we don't use emotion, because let's say if somebody buys a Rolex, why do they buy Rolex? Because they want to look at the time, or because of status. The status is the emotion. Apple don't sell technology, it sells innovation. Ferrari do not sell a car. Ferrari sell, passion. So in the insurance, we have to, when we get into the dialysis, the improvement of the lifestyle, we have to get to the emotion, because the emotion is a major component of changing and improving and the lifestyle of the people. Thank you very much.
Dear Mazen, many thanks. So if you agree, I will ask one single question to every speaker, and then we'll welcome all your questions once that all our speakers have made their presentations, and we'll be having enough time for all this. Dear Mazen, so many thanks for the presentation again. Could you tell us more about how on the reinsurance side you're operating, and how do you deal with the medical?
Well, the reinsurance, the value chain and the ecosystem, they're becoming more and more, let's say, cooperative with the whole distribution channel. Before they were used to be passive, you have the data that will come with IBLR, huge. Now, because of automation, we're getting the data faster, and we'll be able to, let's say, interact with the insurance company and with the solution much faster. So we as an insurer are contributing to provide a holistic approach from a global perspective into how to improve let's say, the accessibility of the client to a better prevention. So we are investing a lot in cooperating with InsurTech as far as the reinsurers are concerned on a global basis to be able to fill in these gaps, as I mentioned before. So basically, our aim is to improve the wellness and the lifestyle of the people. So basically, we can lower the medical bill, becomes affordable. And we don't anymore, let's say, leave 1.3 billion uninsured and unprotected. So we have a major corporate, let's say, responsibility to cooperate within the value chain with the brokers, with the insurance company, to have an integrated approach to do this. And as far as that is concerned, we are also having application, we are investing that will be, let's say, white label within insurance companies that use AI and predictive modeling and fast learning experience, so basically to be able to predict how things are going, basically mirroring. And we're also partnering with some global, what we call virtual clinic, to be able to assess the situation and treat people at a lower cost than going to physical.
Thank you, Mazen. That's impressive. I believe we'll be having questions to you after the presentations are ended.